we should be wearing that. Oh, yes. Select. And we should be wearing go with that. Actually, that's perfectly fine. Confirm. That's better. Hey, Cameo. Good morning. Welcome to a Saturday after Independence Day. And happy Independence Day. Okay, hit that button. Steering assist. Blah, blah, blah. On, blah, 3, blah. Go. Thank you. And do we want to do the inside first or the outside first? I don't know. Meeny, miny, mo. Bing. Go. Alrighty. So, let's make some money, and I now have to pay for my coat and gloves because it's 0 degrees and probably not a good idea to be running around fields with in a t-shirt. I also should do a check on it's going to start snowing at 10 o'clock. Oh, that's going to be fun. Things have been okay. I was unable to stream yesterday. So we didn't get a holiday stream for a change. Oh, no. So yeah, now we're into January of year 2. I think that's the second full year. Harvesting will be year 3. Oh, we did hear last week that Clarkson's farm they're currently wrapping up season 5, so we'll probably see that next year in May. But they're taking a year break because they've been filming 5 years straight. So they figure they need a break. I'm not sure. I should be doing double rows. I think I should be doing triples. We'll figure that out next time, next end. But also, I've not been streaming during the week. My back's been playing up really badly. So I'm going to have a non-permanent exploratory procedure this week on Thursday, finally. And then they'll be able to schedule the permanent procedure. Hopefully within a month. Usually takes them about a month from authorization to actually getting the procedure done. And that will give me the opportunity to maybe sit at the PC for longer than an 8-hour working day. Yeah, I get to the point where sitting down just it's uncomfortable. So I have to get up and walk around. Admittedly, working on the model railway layout in the basement is that can be uncomfortable as well, but I'm moving around, I'm not sitting. But eventually I have to give up doing that as well. So I get about an hour in sometimes. And then I get to lounge in front of the TV and just relax the back. That's the problem I have at the moment. But as I said, procedure on Thursday. And if that works out, then I'll be getting something a little bit more permanent, and things will be good. I think things will be good. And life's busy. Well, I mean, the model train set's keeping me very occupied. Yesterday I wasn't feeling up to going down into the basement. I had things happening in the morning, so I wasn't able to stream, but the afternoon, I spent most of the afternoon on rolling stock maintenance. I have a rake of 6 passenger cars, which I took down to our model railway club, and they did nothing but come off the tracks. And it was like, okay, fine. I'll worry about them when I'm more in a position to actually make use of them on my layout, and at that time I didn't even have track laid. So now that I've got track laid, I figured I should probably get these looked at, and I had one of them out. The passenger cars have lights in them. So if I put the car on the tracks and then crawl underneath the layout and attach a battery to the wires, I hope to see the lights come on. Well, the lights came on, so that was good. But on Thursday, I'd sort of, okay, I'm kind of done with this. I should probably just put it back in the box. And as I was messing with it, I figured, well, the trucks on the bottom of the car don't turn very well. They're very stiff, and that's probably why it keeps derailing. So I brought it upstairs and just took the truck off to see if there was any way to kind of change how it was mounted. Didn't see much of anything. However, I did figure out that, well, the screw's too tight, and that's why it's not turning. So I loosened off the screw on that one and put it back in the box, but I pulled out the other 5, and one truck on every car was so tight it wouldn't turn. So it's like, well, okay, that's the solution. So I loosened off all the over-tightened trucks on the car, took it downstairs, put it on the tracks, and ran it round about 10 times, and it didn't come off once. So, yay, fixed. The manufacturer was over-tightening the screws on the trucks, the passenger cars, which... And I'd seen a lot of people saying that they are a problem. Now, obviously, because they've got lights in, there's quite a lot of friction because there's an electrical pickup from the wheels on the car. So they're not super free rolling. But, yeah, you kind of don't want them running away. But, yeah, hooked them up, got them all installed, got them all on the track, and they're running fine with lights. So it's now obvious there's no people inside them. So at some point I need some people, and to glue the people into the cars so it looks like there's people riding the train. And then my empty coal train, I got a couple more KD couplers in the post this week. My coal train is now up to 20 coal trucks. And the next thing I need to do for those is to put a coal load in the back of each of them. I have a pot of coal, as opposed to a pot of gold. And all I need to do is find the time and the inclination to be sitting at my desk gluing coal into the coal trucks and figuring out a way to make them semi-permanent so I can unload the trucks if I want to. At the moment it's notionally a coal train heading back to the mine with a bunch of empties. Another locomotive, I messed around with that and discovered the reason it wasn't working was there's a short in the electrics in the tender. I don't know how I'm going to manage to diagnose that. I mean, technically I could look on eBay for a new tender, but you know, there's not necessarily a it might not be suitable either. That's another job for another day. And then the other thing I got in the mail this week was a decoder chip for a third locomotive, which I have now wired in. And initially I got it going round and thinking, why is there no sound coming out of it? And then eventually I figured out because I didn't put the speaker in it. So I installed the speaker and it's got sound. So still only got 2 trains running, but 1 passenger train of 6 passenger cars and a coal train of 20 cars. And now I need to, well, still got a couple of wires to hook up under the bench, but I do have the trains running, and I do have electrical contact throughout the 2 mainline loops that I have, which is good. That way. And then eventually, so I've got to wire a couple more up, and when I'm not up to crawling under the benches, I'm wiring up jumpers between the contacts on the terminal blocks. So it'll only take me like 5 minutes to crawl underneath and attach the terminal block to the underside and wire it all in. So I don't have to be sitting on a cold concrete floor for too long. I think I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I've got about 6 more terminal blocks to mount, and then that is all done. And my next plan is to start mapping out the station platforms, which we're going to be playing with a cricket and some very, very thin bits of wood. Might do that later this afternoon with Mrs. Osa's help. To see if, basically we went down to Hobby Lobby, bought a couple of sheets of very, very, very thin basswood, and we'll be etching and cutting and seeing how sturdy of a structure we can make. And if that works, then that will probably entail a few more trips to Hobby Lobby to buy their stocks of very, very, very thin pieces of basswood. Now, this is going to be a little bit awkward because we're a bit too close to the wall. But then once I planned out the platform structure, at least the side walls, not necessarily putting a top on it, that will give me a what's the word for it? Sort of a plan on where the track for the bay platform can go. And I can actually look at laying some track off for a bay platform, so I've got more places to park a train than just the main line. That's why I can only run 2 trains. I say I can only run 2 trains at the moment. Technically I could run 4 if I ran sort of half a lap behind and set them all to run at the same speed. Oh, dude, you're going the wrong way. And from a sort of a logistical standpoint, I really, really, really need to get the station, at least the platform area and the bay tracks laid, so that I can start putting other scenery in. Because as soon as I start putting the other scenery in, I can't crawl under the table and up through the gaps to get to where the station is. So I need to do that now. Plus the station area is 5 foot deep. So my arms aren't 5 foot long. And if you start laying stuff at the front of the boards, you can't reach the back. So I have to be very careful how that all gets done, so I'm not crawling on things. I think you can get, the sort of things that car mechanics have, which is a sort of a tray on wheels that you can lie on and wheel in. You can get something like that with a step ladder. So you climb up the ladder and then you've got a board you can lie on face down and do stuff underneath you. So I could look at buying one of those, but if I don't need to buy a thing, I kind of like to avoid it, because that's just money I'm not spending on the stuff I want to spend it on. It's like something a friend of mine said, getting on for about 30 years ago. Nobody wants a drill. You don't buy a drill because you want a drill. You buy a drill because you want holes in things. So you buy a drill to make holes, but you don't want a drill. Nobody will, I don't need a drill sitting on my shelves. I've got so many drills sitting on my shelves, I don't need another drill. It's helpful to have 2 because then you can drill a big hole, drill a small pilot hole, and then drill a big hole with the other drill without having to keep swapping drill bits. But you never buy a drill because you want a drill. You never buy a saw because you want a saw. You buy a drill because you want holes in stuff. You buy a saw because you want to cut things in half, or into many pieces. So if I don't have to buy a platform on wheels, then I'd like to avoid it, because once I've used it, I don't need it anymore. It's like the sound decoder programmer. I have a sound decoder programmer, so I can buy decoder chips for my locomotives and then program them with my own sound files. They're not actually my sound files, they're a free library of sound files. But yeah, I don't have to pay someone else to do it, and buying a decoder with no sound file, or with just generic steam train or diesel sounds on it. I don't even have to worry about, does this one have steam train sounds or diesel train sounds? I don't care. I'm going to overwrite the sound files that are on it with some more appropriate to the models that I'm running. But I don't want a programmer. I just happen to have bought one because I figured it would be cheaper than buying sound-fitted locomotives. Plus, I've got a bunch of locomotives that don't have sound in. So if I want to add sound in, I can buy a decoder. It used to be $80 for a decoder, or $120 to have a sound-fitted locomotive over the cost of the normal locomotive. So, yeah, I'm saving $40 per locomotive buying my own sound chips and installing them myself. So it's kind of the justification there. In the long term, it's going to cost me less money. It's not like it's, you know, I need the sound decoder or the programmer because it's going to make me money, it's going to give me enjoyment. It's not going to do any of those things, but it is going to enable me to do a thing cheaper than getting someone else to do it. And in other news, we are seriously considering investigating laser cutters, engravers, and 3D printers, but probably going to start out buying a cheap, or at least an entry-level 3D filament printer and an entry-level laser engraver. One, to see how we get on with them. On the model railway, I can make immediate use of both. Well, I think the laser engraver I can probably make an immediate use on. The 3D printer would be nice to have. I could play around with it, but I don't have anything that I need to print right this minute. But Mrs. Osa has an Etsy shop, and she kind of likes the idea if we got a laser cutter, then she could, couple of accessories later, she could etch cups or glasses and sell them. So it's a money-making venture. So yeah, I don't need one right this minute, but if you want to get one and use it, just play around with it for now, but with the intention of using it to make money on your Etsy shop, then I'm not going to complain if you have to buy one. or if you decide to buy one. And the same with 3D printer. If you want to print some things, you can do. I think I'd probably make more use of a 3D printer at this stage than she would. But yeah, it's a dual-use product. And again, I don't want a 3D printer because I want a 3D printer. I want a 3D printer so I can make stuff for my model trains, and it's cheaper for me to make stuff here in America than it is to buy stuff from England and ship it over here. Plus it takes 2 weeks to come through the mail or customs or something. So, you know, I pay for a thing and then I've got to wait 2 weeks before I receive the thing. Now, I'm not averse to buying a file for a laser cutter, for example, to make a building, and using a laser cutter in my office to make the building. That's an easy go-to because I'm not having to pay shipping. And in theory, as far as station buildings are concerned, I'm going to make one of them. Engine sheds, I'm going to make one of them. A row of terraced houses, I'm going to make 20 of them. So buying the file once and then running it through the printer 20 times and then assembling 20 buildings, yeah, I'll do that. That's a good use of money. And as I was watching some guy who was doing it this week, and he said, it's a cardboard cutout building costs £16 each. So if you want a row of 20 buildings, that's $320. And it's only $500 to buy a small laser engraver that you could do the same thing with. And he